Madam Chair, Ranking Member Graves, members of the committee, thank you for holding this important hearing today, and I appreciate having the opportunity to testify on behalf of the National Biodiesel Board. As you said in your opening statement, the National Biodiesel Board is the National Trade Association for the U.S. biodiesel industry, and we represent everything from biodiesel producers to feedstock providers to fuel marketers to technology providers. So we really do represent the whole waterfront, as you would say, of the entire industry. Biodiesel itself is a diesel replacement fuel. It's made typically from agricultural oils, waste greases such as yellow grease, also more commonly known as restaurant grease, and animal fats. It is refined to hit an ASTM D67 fuel specification. We comply with Tier 1 and Tier 2 requirements, emission requirements of the Clean Air Act. In the marketplace, the fuel is typically used in 5% blends with conventional diesel fuel, but it can be used up to levels up to 20%. It's distributed through the mainstream existing petroleum infrastructure that we have right now. We're in about a little over 40 distribution terminals across the country. And we're really excited that there's been 2 major pipeline companies so far that have actually run biodiesel through a pipeline, and we think that this holds a lot of potential to get our fuel distributed in the mainstream infrastructure, which ultimately is in the nation's overall policy goals. There are significant public policy benefits associated with the use of biodiesel. The first being, let's talk about energy security and reducing our dependence on foreign oil. With biodiesel production, what you're getting is additional fuel production capacity and new fuel that's being added to our overall infrastructure. The 690 million gallons that we produced in 2008 displaced 38.1 million barrels of petroleum. In addition, it's also worthwhile to mention that biodiesel is an extremely efficient fuel in that you get 3.2 units of energy for every 1 unit of energy it takes to produce the fuel. We're good for the environment. We reduce direct carbon emissions by 78% compared to conventional diesel fuel. That's the equivalent in 2008 of removing 980,000 cars from the roadways. We have literally no sulfur emissions. And if you talk about water use, the water that was used to produce biodiesel in the United States last year was the equivalent that was used to maintain 2 large golf courses. So we are very efficient when it comes to that. We're creating jobs and economic opportunity in rural America. In 2008 alone, we supported over 51,000 jobs, added over $4.2 billion to the nation's economy. Generated $866 million in tax revenue for state, local, federal government. If we hit our potential, which we estimate to be about 1.77 billion gallons of production, we'll support over 78,000 jobs and add over $6.6 billion to the overall economy. The other thing that I always think is worthwhile to mention is that the existence of the U.S. biodiesel industry right now is really the driver that is encouraging this exciting investment in some of the next generation feedstocks that people have heard about. For example, algae, which we think holds great potential as a lipid source. There's a lot of research that's going on right now to make that commercial. Right now, in the advanced biofuels component, when you're talking about biomass-based diesels, we're really the only industry out there that is at commercial scale, and we are the ones that are driving that research. All that said, and all the success that we've had, though, is really in danger right now because our industry is facing some pretty severe economic hardship right now, and it's a perfect storm of factors: lack of access to capital, which is not unique to our industry, volatility in commodity markets. And lastly, we've had uncertainty relating to federal policy, which signals that the support for biodiesel going forward is tenuous at best. Now, we're not asking for new programs. We're not asking for huge new initiatives. What we're asking for moving forward is the maintenance of what we have now because it's been working. The first thing that's vital to our industry is the biodiesel tax incentive. It achieves the goal of making our fuel price competitive with diesel fuel in the marketplace. It's a $1 per gallon tax incentive. So by making us price competitive, it makes it easier for us to market our fuel and get greater infrastructure and greater penetration in the fuel stream. Unfortunately, we were pleased that the tax incentive was extended for 1 year through 2009, but the very short-term duration of these extensions are really drawing into question whether the commitment to biofuels. The second thing to mention real quick is that we need a workable renewable fuel standard. The 2007 Energy Bill put in for the first time, a diesel replacement requires the replacement of diesel fuel in the marketplace with low-carbon fuel. We're ready to meet that requirement. Unfortunately, the process that EPA is going through right now could have the effect of making it nearly impossible to meet those standards. And I'd love to answer a question about that. I know my time is almost up here, but I'd love to get more into that if we have the opportunity during the questions. Thank you very much for the time.